So a lot of it is actually based in truth and like testimonials you've actually taken from people you know.
Yeah, do you know what I'd say? About 80% of it is actually based on fact or around something that happened. We've slightly stretched it, used a bit of artistic license on it. Yeah.
Now, originally it was going to be a short film. So how did that change?
We'd been trying to work together on a feature for a while. He said, have a read of this, A Carer's Tale. I had a look at it. And you know, you read a short and you kind of go, wow, all the beats are there, everything is there. But it's too packed, it's too crammed. And I said to Shaun, you know, it needs to breathe, and why don't we do it as a feature? And he said, oh yeah, right, okay. But if you want to do it as a feature, you go find the money and then you produce it. So I did.
It was like in like 52 hours.
Yeah.
I had a call and he was like, yeah, I think I've got the money.
Yeah.
Then you literally had to go away and write it.
We both did. We both developed
right.
it on his balcony, like 3 a.m. Many nights drinking like endless amounts of coffee and junk food and stuff. It was great. It was the best time.
Were you insisting on being in it as well as playing a part?
No,
or
quite the opposite, actually. I didn't want to be in it. What had happened was we talked about Dougie, and as soon as I said I was producing it and ended up kind of co-writing with Shaun, I wanted not to take the role on. So we went to Steve Graham, because I'd worked with Steve a few times and I absolutely adore him. But he was doing Pirates, and then he just couldn't get involved. And so we sat around and I said to Shaun, like, well, maybe we should look about. And Shaun said, well, you originally did do it, so why don't we? So we asked Mel and Majana what they thought, and I said if they're happy, then I'll come back in.
And Mel, I mean, Rado?
I hate the whole casting process anyway, but I usually just get them to send me a tape of them doing whatever. But Mel sent me a tape, and he had really researched the role, and he had like, you know, lit it and everything, which really showed commitment to the role. And he just kept in the back of my mind, and we kept corresponding with each other. And then I thought, you know what, he's John. I mean, his performance is faultless.
It's a courageous performance because you actually do loathe him for the first half of the movie.
Absolutely.
And then you sort of warm to him, and then you don't want him to suffer what actually happens.
Yeah. I think what the film does capture well is the toxic relationship between the two, between carer and between the client, because one minute you have that conversation. There's the scene in the film where they're at the kitchen table and they kind of bear all, and then the next minute, you know, you want to kill them. You know, it is almost like a marriage. Someone came up to me after one of the first screenings and said it's like a marriage because she's a carer, and that's absolutely what it's like.
Because so put somebody like Evie, Mojana's character, into that sort of like hotbed, and she's slightly disturbed anyway because of what happened to her in the past. I mean, and something is going to sort of break. Is that? Would you say that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I said it in one of the Q&As as well. It's like the wounded healer. They kind of attract each other, and because she doesn't want anyone else to go through what she went through, so she's attracted to that. She wants to help people, and you'll find a lot of that as well. A lot of the carers that I've spoken to, it's the same thing. They've been through a rough childhood. They've been through abuse themselves, but they just want to go and care for people as well. It's not always the case where the abusee becomes the abuser. That's not the case at all. So there's a lot of that.
I mean, FrightFest is a broad church. I mean, we sort of embrace thrillers, fantasies, horror, everything. I mean, do you think, is it giving the wrong message when a festival like us would show your film? Do you worry that it's actually positioning it in a way that you think is a bit sort of dishonest?
No, I think, you know, people come here with sort of certain expectations. You know, you've got a lot of sort of cliched films here. You've got a lot of films with got some gore, and you know, and to have something like Broken in the festival, and again, people came up to me afterwards saying, "What a unique, different kind of film. Thank you for showing it." But
I was
yeah,
just going to say Devil's Rejects.
Yeah.
You know, when that came out, you know, I think a lot of people were kind of stunned by the way that was being approached.
Yeah,
And,
possibly.
and for me, on the producing side, we mentioned that film quite a lot, you know, because even with having Hyde and Beast in there with the music, you know, the soundtrack to the film is kind of quite, it's quite a fun soundtrack, you know, and the guys from Hyde and Beast are quite a commercial side of things, but there is a sense of, there's a sense of theatre to the film as well, you know, you can tell there's something more, and I think the horror genre is a place where you can take things to the extreme, but you can also bring it back, and a lot of times we think the blood and gore, the effects is something that's going to give everybody a good time, but you know, the audiences here have brains clearly, and they like to be challenged, and they like to sit and go through something.
I mean, you know, obviously one of the challenges for you, I mean, because it's actually essentially a one-set picture, I mean, you really keep the visual excitement at a very high level. I mean, I think it's incredible what you do with this.
You hit the nail on the head there with the fact that we really only had a small space. So it's how best we can use this space. And one of the biggest things was production design. What those guys did, I mean, fair enough, we gave them a brief, we didn't give them very much money. And they transformed this house. I mean, we've got some footage that I'm sure will be out and you'll be able to see, but we've got some footage of the house before it was transformed, and they transformed it into this really claustrophobic house. My brief was that I wanted the house to live, I wanted it to breathe, I wanted it to, you know, be a separate character itself, because they're stuck in it for the whole film. So it's got to be interesting.
Well, I mean, I think it's a great calling card. You know how I feel about it. I've told you from day one. And I think I'm so pleased we showed it, guys. So listen, thanks very much.
Thank you for letting us
coming.
show it.